lonely in my own home. I never imagined the only one who truly listened would be him. I am Clara, and for the last 10 years, my existence has resembled a mirror, echoing the same routine day in and day out. Each morning unfolded with a well-known cadence, the alarm clock's buzz shattering the tranquility of dawn, while the scent of freshly brewed coffee enveloped the kitchen, a soothing balm amid the tumult. Mark, my husband, hurries around, casting nervous glances at his phone, the burden of the day looming over him as he heads toward his job in downtown Santiago. As I lingered in that moment, the doorbell resonated through the stillness, a ghostly reminder of his absence, leaving me enveloped in solitude. Mark embodies goodness in his very essence. He is someone I can count on, never misreading my intentions, always putting in the effort and taking his responsibilities seriously. Yet there is a part of him that feels so far away, almost unapproachable, leaving me with a sense of longing for warmth and connection. His heart seems entirely consumed by his work, allowing scant space for anything beyond it. In those fleeting moments, our words tend to hover in the dim light, constrained to the necessities of conversation, while a wealth of unexpressed thoughts hangs silently in the air between us. It seems as though we are simply cohabiting, rather than genuinely engaging as partners in this marriage. For years, I told myself this was simply the nature of married life, that it encapsulated its very essence. Yet, beneath that facade, a deep-seated feeling of invisibility quietly resided within me. In the midst of all that unfolds around us, there is Milo, our cherished boxer dog, though in reality he is hers. When he first entered our lives as a tiny puppy, we made the choice with the intention of having a guardian for our home. Yet, to me, Milo became much more than that. He was another cherished companion, a being to love and nurture. In all honesty, I come to the realization that I never genuinely invested the time to comprehend him. He embodied a gentle spirit, a serene presence that enveloped our home in tranquility. On most days, he sought refuge in the garden, soaking in the sun's gentle embrace, or nestled in his bed in the living room, drifting into serene dreams. Milo and I barely uttered a word to each other. His heart raced with joy as Mark burst through the door, eager to greet him. However, my experience stood in sharp contrast. It seemed he grasped that in my world, he was simply present, not genuinely living, and so the days faded one into the next. The house was impeccably arranged, the dinner artfully crafted, yet an unsettling silence resonated within me, filling my heart with an unshakable weight. It's remarkable to comprehend how something so seemingly mundane, such as an ordinary dog, could transform all that I held to be true. Never did I envision that a creature so diminutive could bring about such a remarkable transformation. Yet, I stood at the precipice of understanding that Milo was destined to be far more than merely a companion. He emerged as the singular presence that genuinely grasped the essence of my being. It was a morning that mirrored countless others, yet within its simplicity lay a serene beauty. Mark had already departed for work as he did each day, and I stood in the kitchen, gazing at my cold coffee, adrift in contemplation. The silence wrapped around me, a dense shroud that suffocated any semblance of solace. The soft murmurs of the wind beyond my walls wrapped around me like a tender hug, a striking juxtaposition to the chill that permeated my own abode. An overwhelming feeling of being fully immersed surrounded me. Milo stood at the kitchen door, his gaze fixed on me, those eyes radiating a tranquility I hadn't felt in what seemed like forever. A deep stillness enveloped the surroundings. He stood motionless, silent as the night. He lingered in place, his gaze fixed on me with a fervor that implied he understood emotions I found difficult to express. In that brief instant, I was tempted to look away from him, but the intensity of his gaze anchored me in place, urging me to linger. In the stillness, I remained, my heart burdened by the shadows of doubt as I endeavored to decipher the enigma of his behavior. Was it possible that he genuinely grasped the profound intricacies of my feelings? A hearty laugh escaped me, my head shaking in joyful disbelief, resonating with the happiness that filled my being. He is merely a dog, Clara. Let us refrain from engaging in absurdity. In a surprising twist that left everyone astonished, Milo veered in an unforeseen direction. He ascended with a measured grace, Approaching me and gently, he sat quietly beside me, a presence of calm. I stood there immobilized as doubt enveloped me in a suffocating embrace, rendering me unsure of my next move. In that instant, it dawned on me that I had never forged a connection quite like this with him before. As my hand softly glided across his head, an unforeseen feeling enveloped me, a murmur of comfort that resonated within my heart, reminding me that I was not solitary in this instant. That gesture, seemingly uncomplicated, carried a weighty significance in that brief instant, echoing profoundly within me. In the wake of that day, I became increasingly attuned to the delicate nuances that had once eluded my grasp, akin to soft murmurs carried by the breeze. Every time I settled into the comforting embrace of the sofa, Milo would select a spot just a few steps away, his presence a silent affirmation of the unspoken connection we nurtured in those tranquil moments. On those challenging days when my tears surged like an uncontainable tide, I would discover him there, resting silently by the threshold of my room. His presence served as a soft reminder of his understanding of the burdens I carried, and he was prepared to wait, providing comfort through his quiet companionship. It was an experience that seemed almost otherworldly, as though the cosmos had orchestrated a delightful surprise just for me. Though I held no expectations for him, he unveiled his heart, a striking difference from my encounters with Mark, who always appeared to lack that same profound connection. Milo brought an unyielding presence that surrounded me, untainted by conditions or expectations, a genuine bond that echoed profoundly within my spirit. It seemed as though he genuinely understood my very being. In a world where I frequently felt invisible, he genuinely saw me. A question had been haunting me, lurking in the recesses of my thoughts, one that I had never found the bravery to face. Is it possible that a dog could give me something that has been absent from my husband's offerings for quite some time? And if that were true, what would it mean for me? A dense knot constricted within my chest, an inescapable burden of feeling that clung to me relentlessly. For an eternity, I turned a blind eye to the profound yearnings that resided within me, until Milo softly shed light on the truth I had long evaded. The morning spent with Milo remained etched in my thoughts, a haunting resonance of feelings I couldn't quite dispel. There was a stillness that brought me peace I hadn't known in years, a feeling so authentic, yet it bore an unsettling hint of fear that was difficult to dismiss. It's just a dog, isn't it? I endeavored to persuade myself that my feelings were exaggerated, that it was unreasonable to feel such intense emotions. Each time Milo looked at me or approached with that calm presence, it was as if a fragment of my being broke apart and healed all at once. It engulfed me, and I couldn't rid myself of the sense of absurdity for attributing such weight to his behavior. What was taking shape inside me? I endeavored to redirect my focus to different concerns, much like I had consistently done before. While I scrubbed the dishes and tidied the home, a deep silence wrapped around me, its heaviness nearly overwhelming. The truth resided not merely in the quietude of the house, but in the deep silence that surrounded my existence. Resonating within my connection with Mark, there was a pervasive emptiness, as though ensnared in a perpetual cycle. I crafted the meal, he delved into his duties, and when we eventually convened at the same table, it seemed as if an ocean lay between us. A compelling urge stirred within me to uncover the rationale behind it. He frequently pointed out that Mark is preoccupied, weighed down by a multitude of obligations. Yet, what of my own emotions and desires? Did I not matter in your universe? When did we begin to separate in this way? A surge of dread enveloped me at the realization of my own ignorance, and then there was Milo, a guiding light amidst the chaos. In what seemed like a fleeting moment, that dog bestowed upon me a profound sense of fulfillment I had longed for over the years. Yet, beneath the surface, I grappled with the challenge of accepting the truth of it all. I discovered that I could not bring myself to confront it, for to do so would mean admitting to a profound unrest lurking beneath the surface of my being. The truth loomed over me, a burden I could no longer ignore. I discovered a yearning for diversions, attempting to occupy the stillness with movement. I endeavored to cast aside those thoughts, yearning to discover a semblance of tranquility within my soul. Still, the fear remained, an ever-present shadow lurking in the recesses of my thoughts. What if that were indeed the reality? What if my joy was intricately linked to something that Mark could not offer? Nevertheless, Milo did. It is simply a dog. He repeated those words to me, but deep down, he grasped that the reality was much more intricate than it appeared. Milo was never the problem. He mirrored the emptiness I had yet to confront within my being. On a quiet afternoon, I settled onto the couch, my gaze drifting out the window. Yet my mind wandered far beyond the scenery, ensnared in a fog of thoughts and emotions that appeared to obscure the reality beyond. That day unfolded much like a myriad of days that had come before it. In Mark's absence, the house was enveloped in an unsettling silence, while my thoughts churned with unvoiced fears I dared not face. In that instant, I felt an overwhelming depth of emotion. Milo found his place on the couch, a brief pause of tranquility enveloping us, a refuge amidst the chaos. It was a moment that took him by surprise, a break from the ordinary that resonated with an unsettling aftertaste. He curled up next to me, his head softly resting on my leg, enveloping us in a serene moment of comfort that was both delicate and deeply meaningful. I stood there momentarily paralyzed, astonished by the unforeseen generosity that had unfolded before me. As I looked at him, a deep understanding enveloped me. For the first time, he transcended the role of mere canine in my perception. I came across a presence that genuinely uplifted me. I softly stroked his head, and in that tranquil moment of connection, he reacted with a serenity that reflected my own feelings, a sensation that was both deep and soothing. It was as if a delicate liberation washed over me, easing the weight that had taken residence within, if only for a brief, ephemeral instant. In that instant, a gentle warmth surrounded me, and for the first time in what seemed like forever, I felt a bond that lightened the burden of loneliness. Milo kept his silence, his lips tightly shut, his curiosity lingering unspoken, and his desires hidden from view. He stood before me, a silent figure, offering a gift I had not known was absent from my existence. Within the domain of our organization, a deep sense of comprehension prevails. A gentle warmth surrounded me, a feeling I had long since overlooked, and in that instant, I became immersed in deep reflection. What is it about a dog that evokes such deep feelings within me? What makes this peace with Mark so difficult to grasp? The question hung in my thoughts, a flicker that slowly illuminated the myriad details I had been neglecting. In that brief instance of solace that Milo provided, I found myself pondering whether he might not be the only one holding the keys to the truths I yearned for. Perhaps the most profound inquiry wasn't focused on Milo at all, but instead on my own path and comprehension. That afternoon in the armchair signified a pivotal moment. A transformation stirred within me, etching a lasting impression on my soul. After countless years, a deep yearning within me called for transformation, a desire to break free from the shackles of a monotonous existence that had captured my essence. In a serene moment of reflection, I decided to embark on this journey alongside Milo. The next day, I softly took hold of his leash, a blend of excitement and wistfulness coursing through me, as I guided him through the comforting surroundings of the nearby park. In that moment, it seemed almost trivial. He strolled alongside me, his inquisitive nose investigating each aroma that wafted by, as I pressed forward, wrapped in a serene reflection. As the days unfolded, I began to sense a deepening awareness of something significant. Milo discovered happiness not merely in the act of walking, but in the comforting warmth of my presence alongside him. Whenever my eyes landed on him, he would look up, as though searching for confirmation that all was well within his soul. With each passing day, those walks evolved into the most treasured highlights of my daily routine. It seemed as though we had created our own private universe, a refuge designed exclusively for the two of us. I felt no compulsion to express my feelings or justify my silence. Milo was there, a subtle essence that hung in the atmosphere. At first, I discovered myself engaging with him in a manner that seemed clumsy and hesitant, as though I were teetering on the brink of madness for having a dialogue with a dog. Indeed, those conversations became a wellspring of healing for me. Today, Milo, I stumbled upon a flicker of connection that eased my sense of isolation, if only slightly. One afternoon, as we wandered under the gentle caress of the sun, I confided my thoughts to him. In that instant, even in silence, his gaze was grounding, a reflection of quiet empathy that went beyond mere words. Slowly, these fleeting instances stirred a sensation inside me that I had long left behind. Unfiltered, absolute bliss. I began to notice the delicate nuances that had previously eluded me, resting quietly in the corners of my consciousness. As I draw in a deep breath, the freshness of the air wraps around me, while the soft rustling of leaves shares nature's quiet secrets. The sun's gentle touch envelopes me, a soft reminder of the uncomplicated pleasures that life offers. The most unassuming moments rekindled the flicker of vitality within my tired spirit. As I stepped through the door and caught sight of Mark, an intense feeling of disparity washed over me. As Milo surrounded me with his unwavering attention, companionship, and warmth, I found myself acutely aware of Mark's steadfastness, a constant figure lingering in the periphery of my existence. He appeared distant, absorbed in the soft light of his phone or the dancing shadows on the TV, as though the reality surrounding him had dissolved into oblivion. The burden of acknowledging this disparity pressed down on my heart, yet I could no longer afford to ignore it. Milo had evolved into an entity that transcended the mere definition of a pet. He occupied a unique space in my heart, a genuine confidant in whom I could place my unwavering trust, and in countless ways it has transformed into my refuge. Though I couldn't fully comprehend it, I sensed that those walks carried a meaning that transcended mere necessity. They were destined for my embrace. As the ambience transformed within the confines of their dwelling, Mark started to perceive the delicate yet significant alterations taking shape around him. On a tranquil evening, as we lingered in our comfortable stillness, he placed his fork gently on the plate and directed his eyes toward me. "What is it that compels you to dedicate so many moments outdoors with your dog?" His inquiry was laced with a tone that cast a shadow of uncertainty over me, placing me in a delicate balance between curiosity and annoyance, as I grappled with the unvoiced feelings that hung in the atmosphere. I raised my eyes, surprised by the unforeseen inquiry. His interest in my pursuits was a rare occurrence. "There's an undeniable warmth in the act of strolling alongside him," I responded, striving to maintain a cheerful tone. Yet, beneath the surface, I felt an unspoken significance hiding within his inquiry. As the days unfolded, the burden of unexpressed emotions and lingering disputes appeared to grow heavier. Mark began to express his thoughts with greater frequency, each comment imbued with a significance that hung palpably in the atmosphere. "Your attention seems to be directed towards Milo, which leaves me feeling somewhat neglected. He transcends the role of a mere dog, Clara. He is a confidant, a cherished ally, an integral presence in our lives that radiates warmth and happiness. It's challenging to perceive him in any other light. It genuinely perplexes me the extent of importance you attribute to him." His words cut through me, leaving a lingering ache that echoed within. In the midst of that suffering, I discovered a clarity I had long evaded. Mark and I sensed an abyss separating us, more profound than it had ever been, and it was evident that Milo was not the source of this estrangement. Amidst the unresolved tensions that hung around us, I discovered a sense of peace in my solitary walks and treasured the tranquil moments shared with Milo. With each passing day, an undeniable sense of quiet strength began to unfurl within me, deepening with every fleeting moment. It wasn't solely Milo who filled my heart with solace. It was the very essence of those moments that resonated deeply within me. This is my moment, an opportunity to inhale deeply, to let go of the burden of feeling trapped. An afternoon remains etched in my memory, laden with difficulty and weight. Before Mark departed for work, we found ourselves ensnared in a disagreement, a moment that hung heavily in the air between us. A deep void enveloped me, as if his words had drained every last bit of my vitality. Yet there was Milo looking at me with a calm confidence that seemed to say, "Don't worry, I'm here for you." As I led him to the park, a well-known ritual began to take shape. Yet, in that instant, observing him sprint across the blanket of fallen leaves, an overwhelming surge of emotion enveloped me, a sensation I hadn't felt in what seemed like forever. A deep wave of relief sweeps through me, wrapping my spirit in a tender caress. The burden that once pressed down upon me has vanished, giving way to a serene calm that echoes profoundly within my very being. At that instant of understanding, a surge of relief enveloped me. I came to understand that I was not irreparably broken. Rather, I found that even the smallest glimmers of happiness could light my way forward. Milo stood as my most steadfast companion, a reliable presence in a realm that frequently seemed unpredictable. Every delicate movement he made, from the soft arc of his tail to the reassuring manner in which he nestled next to me, acted as a touching reminder that even in the most challenging times, there remained a flicker of hope and value. The weight of that night pressed down on my heart. Mark and I had barely spoken all day, and when I finally gathered the courage to reach out, his response was nothing but a distant gesture. He retreated into the glow of his phone, leaving me feeling more isolated than ever. I stepped into the room, a weight pressing down on my heart, an uneasy knot twisting within my chest. The burden of solitude, a feeling that had settled in like an unwelcome guest, pressed down on my heart with a relentless heaviness. As I sat on the edge of the bed, a surge of emotion enveloped me, and I sensed the tears beginning to flow down my cheeks. It was an unspoken sorrow, a subtle pain that resided in the dim corners of my soul. It was a deep void that slowly wrapped around you, rendering you lost and aimless, a lingering echo of everything that is missing. At that instant, the gentle resonance of his footsteps caressed my ears, awakening a profound sensation within me. With a gentle push, Milo opened the door, and in that instant, he advanced with steadfast confidence, moving closer to me. He positioned himself near me, offering quiet support, looking up at me as he always did, his eyes brimming with a profound understanding that seemed almost ethereal. Even in my silence, he appeared to understand the unvoiced sentiments that hung in the air around us. He stood up from his chair and walked to his bed, a movement so uncommon for him, one that typically demanded a gentle push or a quiet plea. That subtle act awakened a profound emotion within me. I rested my hand on his back, drawing comfort from his nearness, letting the tears flow freely, unimpeded by any hesitation. As I tenderly touched him, a profound sense of gratitude enveloped me, mingled with a deep, aching sorrow that rendered me adrift, uncertain of how to steer through my feelings. Milo found himself enveloped in a silence that weighed heavily upon him, his words imprisoned within, yearning for release. Though he could not guarantee that all would end well, the very core of his existence conveyed a depth of understanding. In that ephemeral instant, I grasped the profound nature of my yearning for this bond. It was remarkable how something as ordinary as his presence transformed into a vital support for me, a wellspring of resilience in my battle to persevere. I stayed there, enveloped in his arms, with a thought that clung tenaciously to my mind. What is it about my bond with him that feels so distinct from what I experience with Mark? A question loomed before me, heavy with dread. In that instant, a profound insight emerged, a gentle murmur of comprehension that echoed profoundly within my soul. The burden of certainty enveloped me, as though the truth had lingered in the shadows, eager for my recognition. What Milo presented to me went beyond simple actions. It was precisely what I had longed for all those years. A deep warmth surrounds us, softly reminding us of the attention we seek and the unwavering love that nourishes our souls. In the softly illuminated chamber, a deep understanding enveloped me, as though a long-hidden fragment of my essence was at last breaking apart. The murmurs of my heart grew too loud to ignore, compelling me to heed its call and contemplate its essence. Mark was not the origin of the problem, nor did Milo possess the solution. The absence pressed down on my heart, a lingering void that had overstayed its welcome, compelling me to reflect on its meaning. The subsequent days and that night carried an unmistakable weight of difference. A flame was kindled inside me, casting light into the shadows of my soul. In that moment, I wrestled with a deep sensation that was at once brave and accepting. It was a power that echoed profoundly within me, unmistakable and fervent. One afternoon, as I stirred a pot of dinner, my hands seemed to dance autonomously, while my mind wandered into the depths of contemplation. In contemplating the past few months, I am profoundly touched by how Milo has shed light on a facet of my life that I once thought was irretrievably gone. To encounter the deep feeling of being authentically recognized, sincerely listened to, and profoundly cherished. It lies not in the eloquence of our speech or the magnitude of our actions, but in the genuine, unpretentious presence we extend to each other. In the quiet of that kitchen, I finally confronted a truth I had long avoided, a realization that had hovered in the corners of my heart for years. My marriage has shattered into fragments. Mark possessed his own admirable qualities, yet he ultimately did not fulfill the role I genuinely sought in my life. His emotional absence left a deep void inside me, a feeling I struggled to understand for quite a while. A fragment of my essence felt absent, subtly shaping my emotions and thoughts unbeknownst to me. In that moment of clarity illuminated by Milo, I realized I could no longer look away. Milo revealed to me the profound nature of unwavering love. In his presence, I discover a unique tranquility, a lack of expectations, a soft liberation from criticisms, and an unburdening from obligations. He stands beside me, presenting a gift I never thought I deserved to receive. His moments, his presence, his compassion resonate deeply. As I confronted this reality, a profound sorrow took root inside me, a painful recognition of the chasm between Mark and the reciprocation I yearned for. I could no longer ignore his presence. This void was not of Milo's creation, nor could it be remedied by leisurely walks or serene interludes. It was a deeper matter, one that awakened something inside me, a crack that had quietly widened over the years, now exposed before me, impossible to conceal with simple excuses. Leaning against the doorframe, I found my eyes drawn to Mark in the kitchen, a moment frozen in the air. A tide of grief enveloped me as I beheld his deep estrangement, a vivid echo of all that we had once cherished together. Facing this truth ignited a deep urgency within me, as I understood that it would demand a complete overhaul of my life. Yet, beneath the surface, I sensed the gravity of the moment bearing down on me, an awareness that this was indeed a pivotal juncture. It was a moment of choice, to seize it now or watch it fade into oblivion. I could no longer ignore the profound longing within me for love, for connection, for that exhilarating sensation of truly experiencing life again. After what seemed like a lifetime, I mustered the bravery to face the reality of my being. In the stillness of contemplation, I came to understand a significant lesson I had learned from Milo. Genuine love does not stem from desperation. It avoids the shadows of doubt and refrains from searching for satisfaction in misguided realms. True love exists in its most authentic essence, unembellished and sincere, that encapsulated the core of my aspirations, the ideal I cherished deeply within my soul for my existence. In the days that ensued, a deep metamorphosis began to take shape within me. As I finally accepted the truth of my marriage and faced my genuine longings, a deep sense of clarity enveloped me, a clarity that had been just out of reach for far too long. A profound understanding enveloped me for the very first time. The matter reached far beyond merely Mark. I have come to understand that the problem resides within me, in that fragment of my being that I misplaced along this journey, a version of myself that I once held dear but ultimately abandoned. In my pursuit of harmony, I dedicated endless hours to cultivating a sense of mastery over my surroundings, striving to create an atmosphere that resonated perfectly, fulfilling every expectation laid before me. A lingering sensation haunts me, as if I've allowed something truly important to slip away from my grasp. The core of my happiness, my emotions are profound, my yearnings and aspirations. Milo had disclosed a truth to me in a way that no one else ever could. One morning, as we wandered under the expansive azure sky, I halted to admire him. He turned his head in my direction, his ears attuned with alertness and his eyes emanating a deep sense of calm. As I lowered myself to the ground, I found my knees pressing against the earth. "Thank you, Milo. Your support holds immense significance for me. Your steadfast support holds immense significance for me, and I am profoundly thankful for your faith in me during my most challenging times, for illuminating the truth that the ability to feel still dwells within me. I recognize that there remains potential for change within myself." In that ephemeral instant, a deep understanding enveloped me, urging me to welcome transformation and pursue an alternate journey. It had moved beyond the simple inquiry of whether Mark and I could restore our union. I found myself wrestling with a deep and significant question. Is it possible for me to find my own salvation? A profound sense stirred within me, a recognition of my worthiness for something more, something authentic. I understood then that I could no longer suppress the calls of my heart. He emerged as a steadfast beacon amid my emotional haze, shedding light on the way forward, the connection that brought me back to my authentic self. As I watched him flit happily through the strewn leaves, a deep understanding enveloped me. I was certain that this would be the journey I would embark on next. In my pursuit of wholeness, I contemplated whether it would be in the company of Mark or in solitude. Have you ever felt the profound depths of emotion that I have? Have you found comfort in an unexpected person or thing, similar to Milo's experience? I would sincerely appreciate it if you could share your story in the comments. If this video struck a chord with you, I encourage you to express your appreciation by liking it, subscribing to the channel, and ringing the little bell for updates. This approach ensures you won't overlook more touching tales such as this. Your support deeply moves me and motivates me to continue creating content that connects with you. Engaging in a conversation with Mark was akin to traversing a tempest, where every word bore the burden of my feelings. As the evening unfolded following our shared meal, I stood from my chair and softly beckoned him to join me for a conversation. At first, it seemed he overlooked my existence, as if my words carried no significance in his gaze. He appeared adrift in his musings, as was his frequent custom, yet this time he was resolute in his intent to tackle the conversation directly, allowing no space for me to retreat. Mark. I addressed him, my voice trembling with feeling. It is time for us to engage in a dialogue. The burden of my circumstances feels insurmountable. The situation has reached a point where it feels increasingly intolerable to persist in this manner. At this moment, I am surrounded by a deep sense of solitude, and it presses down on my heart. It seems that the convictions I once held dear are gradually fading, prompting a wave of doubt to wash over me. He looked up, a brief shadow of discomfort passing over his face. Would you be so kind as to clarify your meaning for me? Where does it all begin? His voice trembled, ensnared in a fragile interplay of skepticism and annoyance, casting a heavy atmosphere around him. I bared my soul to him, expressing my thoughts with genuine honesty, welcoming the truth and opting to refrain from assigning blame. In that fleeting instant, raw honesty intertwined with deep compassion. I bared my soul, revealing the profound void that our estrangement had etched into my existence. It was through Milo that I began to grasp the profound significance of this realization. His response surprised me, prompting a deep reflection on the nature of my own expectations. Might this be attributed to the presence of the dog? He conveyed his feelings with a surge of frustration. Are you genuinely implying that a creature brings you greater happiness than I do? In that ephemeral instant, a fragment of my being longed to withdraw, to allow the dialogue to hover in the atmosphere, unblemished and unanswered. Still, I discovered the resolve to remain, to advance even in the face of doubt's heavy burden. In that moment, a profound weight settled over our exchange, resonating deeply within me. Despite his inability to fully comprehend my words, the exchange was pivotal, echoing not only between us but also deeply within my soul. It isn't centered on Milo, Mark. This time, I replied with a deeper sense of certainty, inspired by the profound insights he illuminated for me. We must endeavor to find a way to recover what has eluded us, if it still lingers in some shape or essence. However, if we choose to stay inactive, no change will ever occur. Mark lingered in quietude, the burden of unvoiced thoughts pressing down around him, uncertain of how to shatter the tranquility that surrounded him. The reply was anything but encouraging, yet it also failed to deliver a definitive dismissal. In that instant, his quietude conveyed a wealth of meaning, unveiling a profound reservoir of contemplation and feeling that I could perceive. It sufficed for me, a silent acknowledgement between us, a mutual realm where language held no need. In that instant, Milo stood as my unwavering anchor, stabilizing me in the midst of the turmoil. That evening, following our sincere exchange, I found him, as was his custom, quietly waiting for me by the bedside. As he tenderly caressed his head, A profound realization enveloped me. As he prepared to set forth on a path laden with obstacles, I felt a spark of optimism ignite within me, a deep awareness that I held the strength to confront whatever awaited in the distance. With each step, time seems to stretch, inviting us to savor the unfolding journey that lies before us. The days following our conversation did not evolve into anything remarkable, yet an unmistakable change stirred within me. Mark and I started to delve into more profound discussions, yet we navigated them carefully, as if we were softly stepping into the uncharted waters of a connection we had once cherished but had since drifted away from. In the midst of lingering, uncomfortable silences and palpable moments of distance, there were also tender, albeit small, advances that hinted at hope, yet an undeniable shift stirred within me. After what seemed like an endless stretch of time, Mark felt a profound change stirring within him. He came to understand that my joy was no longer bound exclusively to his choices or lack thereof. Through Milo, I unearthed something profoundly significant. My well-being is entirely in my own hands. Milo stood by my side, a reliable presence, grounding me in times when doubt sought to invade my thoughts. His vigilant eyes and steadfast calmness stood as a touching reminder that I had unearthed something genuinely valuable. The courage required to delve deep and fully accept my own essence. I started to welcome experiences that had previously seemed unattainable. I dedicated myself to self-care, discovering comfort in the written word and the soothing cadence of my own stride. Life encompasses far more than merely the strolls with Milo.